Welcome, welcome, and we'll start off with our bracha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Amen.
And we're going to go straight into our Torah portion, and this is the portion of vaYak'hel. Let's see, I'm just thinking. So just before we go into anything else, I'm just happy to be thinking of it. So I was reading one of Jonathan Sacks' rabbi, the late rabbi, chief rabbi of Great Britain. The late Rabbi Jonathan Sacks has left quite a few pieces of writing, and his piece on vaYak'hel, he made what I thought was a really interesting observation, that the opening word of our Parsha, vaYak'hel, and he gathered, right, parallels a word that preceded the golden calf, where Aaron gathers the people, unless it just simply says there that the people gathered, and that the idea, and he riffs on that to sort of say that the significance of a kahila, right, of the idea of a community, and the way in which this atones for the sin of the golden calf, which of course I think is all part of what's going on here. All right, but let's dive into the portion. We are talking here about the actual manufacture of the various components of the tabernacle. As you can see, not too much Rashi, and that is because all this stuff has been explained in previous parshiot. There are places where we haven't completed those parshiot, so we'll have to look forward, God willing, next year when we get to those parshiot to take a look at what Rashi has to say about it. So here we're talking about, I'm going to go back to over here where it says, Vayas et hashulchan atzei shitim, and he made the shulchan, the table. And this is the table for the showbread, and I actually do have some pictures for you to see of this, right? Zahav tahor, it was made out of pure, sorry, let me keep going. Forgive me, I jumped to this. I'm going to get rid of that. So, all right. Amatayim orcho, it was 2 cubits long, v'amarochbo, and 1 cubit wide, v'ama v'chetzi komato, and 1.5 cubits its height. I'll do a little bit more. This is from what we did yesterday, I guess. Vaitzaf oto zahav tahor, he overlaid it with pure gold. Vayaslo zer zahav saviv, and he made a crown for it all around. We're going to go into more details regarding this table, but let me show you some pictures now. So let's take a look here. So here's what it looked like in its completed form. All right, but you'll see that it's the loaves would go on these pans, and you could see if you count them, there are 2 rows of 6 pans, and each, I'm sure, representing the 12 tribes, representing the 12 constellations, etc. And as I said before, this represented kingship, the crown of kingship. So let's take a look. This is 2 cubits. This is 1 cubit. This is 1.5 cubits length. In reading this, these pictures are from the book by Moshe Cohen, and I was reading some of the commentary on his pictures, and he said there are actually several different versions. At least there's 2 different versions of exactly how this framework worked. But let me go back into the text now. So, Vayas lo miskeret, right? And he made for it a frame. And that's what I think we were looking at right now. Tofach saviv, a handbreadth all around. Let me go into that for you to see what we're talking about. So I believe this is the handbreadth right there, right? This distance from here to here, and quite possibly from here to here as well. That's what we're talking about. Excuse me. Vayas zer zahav lemiskar torsaviv, and he made this crown of gold for its frame all around. So this this garret was actually 2 handbreadths wide. Again, I'm going to go back into the picture for you to see, and I do have, of course, a beautiful picture of this. But this is this. You see this? How this frame here around this was a height of 2 handbreadths. Okay, so let's go on to the next part. Vayitzok lo, and he cast for it arba tabaot zahav, 4 rings of gold. Vayiten et hatabaot al arba hapeot, and he placed these rings on the 4 corners asher la arba raglav, which were for its 4 legs. Again, we're going to take a look at the picture and see what's going on here. So here are the rings, and you can see that they're placed at the ends of the legs. You can see how they're placed on the legs. And of course, it's going to tell us that they accommodated the bars to carry the Shulchan. Le'umat hamiskeret hayu hatabaot. So opposite the frame were the rings. Batim, they were a place, labadim, for the bars, or the poles, laseit et hashulchan, to carry the table. Vayas et habadim atzei shitim, and he made these poles, these bars, out of acacia wood. Vaitzaf otam zahav, and he overlaid them with gold, laseit et hashulchan, in order to carry the table. Vayas et hakelim asher ala shulchan. So this area here is now, as you'll see, subject to a lot of interpretation as to how this was made. But anyway, it says he made the vessels which were on the table, et ka'arotav, its dishes, the et kapotav, and its pans. Right? Now, a kaf is generally a spoon, so it could have meant its ladles, ve'et menakiotav, and its bowls, ve'et haksavot, and the jars, asher yusach bahem, with which it was anointed, right? Zahav tahor, of pure gold. Or, this isn't yusach. Let me see. Yeah, this is nesech, libations. That's what that's what that refers to them. So possibly when they would pour this on the loaves of bread. Okay, let's take a look at this now. So that's it for the table in terms of the instructions. But you'll see. So now we're going to go back into this. So these ksavot and mankiyot, etc. That's these. They're understood to represent these parts of the shulchan. This framework. Let me keep going. So this table was placed on top of that, and now that's the crown around it. And that's here. This is the interpretation of these various words that we've translated quite differently. So there were the 2 sets of these poles that went up. A little bit of now you can see how they were placed around the table. So again, it's going to depend on a lot of interpretation. These bars, by the way, they were, as you can see, they were concave, and they had a split there. And I'll show you. So they would go in between these bars here. Here, now you can see, right? There were these slots in which they were placed. And so 3 sets, right, like this, 1, 2, 3, 4 sets of 3, and then just 2 at the very top on both sides. It was exactly the same. The reason given for the concavity was to allow air, as much air as possible, to waft between the loaves so that they wouldn't spoil, they wouldn't mildew. These are the pans, the molds in which the bread was set. There was a iron mold in which they were baked, and then there was a gold mold in which the baked pieces of bread were set. And it seems to me like there was a third one that actually was placed on the altar, if I'm not mistaken. Here are some jars with which to, to place libations, the oil of libation. And this, it's known as lechem hapanim, the bread of faces. And one interpretation is that these are the faces that we're talking about, the way the bread was curved up on two sides like that. Apparently, there's a Rashi here. We're about to see a picture of this in color now, and it's quite amazing. It's quite beautiful. So this was the Showbread altar. You can see the gold frames in which these were placed. And of course, there was a miracle associated with it. The loaves were baked on Friday and placed on this altar on Shabbat, and the old loaves were removed at that time. And the miracle was that the old loaves tasted as fresh as the new ones. That was, and I suspect this is symbolic, at least, again, this is very superficial, but symbolic of the sense in which life, right? The life force is something that's a divine, that comes directly from a divine source. So the fact that the bread was fresh had something to do with its proximity to the divine, but also helping us recognize that our ability to be conscious, to be alive, to be animated, etc. These are all divine, in a sense, divine capabilities. So that's it for the table right now. And we did this, we actually got into detail the last time in Parsha Truma. This is what we were reading at the time. Vayas et ha-menorah sahav tahor, and he made the menorah of pure gold. Miksha, beaten, asa et ha-menorah. In other words, he made it out of one beaten piece of gold. Yerecha, that's its central post. The kana, and this refers to the arms that went out on the side. Gevi'eha, a gevi'ah is a cup, right? Kaftoreha is like literally it means a button, but here it means like a round. I'll show you a picture. It's referring to these sort of balls that were part of it. Ufracheha, and its flowers. And that's these flowers that were engraved on the menorah. Mimena yihayu. They were all made out of one piece. So let's, just to refresh our memories, we could take a look at the menorah. So here we are. So this would be a kaftor. And if you look carefully, and I'll see if I can enlarge it, right? You can see that there's a kaftor inserted. And this is the gaviyah right here, the cup, right? And if you look carefully, of course, you can see quite clearly. Sorry, I needed to enlarge it. You can see engraved there the almond. I believe it's an almond blossom. So here is a kaftor, another kaftor, another kaftor, another kaftor, and one at the top. We actually went into quite a bit of detail about that. Okay, and this is the yerech. I said yerecha. I think I translated it as the central stem. No, a yerech would be its base. Its base. Okay, and these, I believe, these are the kanim. The kanim. Another picture here, a little bit of that bottom parach, a kaftor, excuse me. Here you can see more clearly the almond blossom, right? And when we were discussing this, so you can see the engravings on here. I wish it were clearer, but it's not too bad. So, okay. Just another black and white. You'll see here how we discussed how the wicks would have been placed here and facing the central wick. So let's go back and take a look. Okay, Veshisha kanim yotzim mitzida, right? So the kanim are the branches, right? 6 branches coming out from its side. Shlosha kanei menorah mitzida ha'echad, 3 branches of the candlestick from one side. Shlosha kanei menorah mitzida ha'sheni, and 3 branches coming out from the other side. Shlosha gaviim mishukadim, 3 those cups mishukadim, with engraved with the with the almond blossom, the kaneh echad, on one branch, kaftor vaferach, a kaftor and the flower. Shlosha gaviim mishukadim, the kaneh echad, and then 3 cups that were engraved with the almond blossom in one branch, kaftor vaferach, likewise, kain lasheshet akanim, thus for the 6 branches, hayotzim min hamenorah, which went out from the menorah, and we'll take another look at it. So these are what we're talking about. Those would be the 3 cups out of each branch, and there's the kaftor on it. Okay. So, excuse me. Let's go back into the text. Uva menorah, and in the menorah itself, that is on the central shaft, arba'a geviim, 4 cups, meshukadim, that were engraved with almond flowers, kaftoreha ufracheha, its kaftor and its flowers. Again, I'm going to show you here. So this is the central column. Let's go up here. Here we go. So 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so if we count, this would actually be 5. So I think what we're talking about is this here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are the 4 that we're talking about. And this counts with what was discussed before. So we've got 4 there, and then 7 here, so 11 altogether of the kaftorim. V'chaftor tachat shnei hakanim mimena. So that's this here. I'll show you. That is a kaftor under 2 of the branches mimena. Again, made out of the same, all made out of the one piece of gold. Here's what we're talking about. That's exactly what he's talking about here. Again, very symbolic, although I'm yet to learn what the symbolism, what these different elements of the menorah symbolized. As you know, the one little piece that I am comfortable with is the idea that this represents the mouth, this represents the nostrils, this represents the eyes, and these represent the ears. That, again, the idea of a human being devoted, that when we say, in a sense, maybe this is another way of interpreting created in the divine image, but also wanting to identify and solidify the connection that we have as human beings to the divine. So l'sheshet hakanim yotzim mimenu, that from the 6 branches that went out from it. Kaftorehem v'kan uknotam mimena hayu. So again, emphasizing the fact that the kaftorim and the branches were all made out of the one solid piece. Hula miksha achat sahav tahor. It is all beaten from one solid, one pure piece of gold. Then Ya'as et Neroteha Shiva, and he made for it its 7 lamps, Umalkacheha, and its tongs, Umachtoteha, and its snuff dishes, cleaning them out, Sahav Tahor, made out of pure gold. And he tells you how much gold to begin with. 1 talent. Kikar is a talent of gold, tahora, pure gold, asa'uta, he made it, ve'et kol keleha, and all its vessels. So I think this is actually an okay place to stop for today. And if you have any comments, of course, for the record, I'd be happy to welcome them. So God willing, tomorrow we'll finish up this little piece here. Going to stop the share. Any comments? Any?
Yeah, I was wondering what the bread of the table was used for.
Oh, yes. So the priests got to eat it. The priests, the Kohanim, would eat it on Shabbat. They had that from the previous week. And again, the idea of having food, of sharing food, it's as I suspect you understand already, is a wonderful way to create community, is to sit around a table and to share food with one another. And there's a beautiful level of intimacy in the idea that we are ingesting, we're actually bringing into ourselves and sharing what we're ingesting. So that there's, again, a lot of deep symbolism involved in all of that. So, yeah.
Another thing is the candles that are,
Yes.
the priests were supposed to keep the lights on all night long. Do we celebrate that too?
No, we don't.
Do we have what is that thing hanging on in the synagogue that's lit
Oh, the
up all?
Ner Tamid. Good point. Yes. So that may, in fact, Harlan, you're right. Thank you for reminding me. So the Ner Tamid may, in fact, symbolize either the central lamp or one of the other lamps that was kept alight perpetually, as I understand it. There's so many details, and so very often I have to go back and reread the details to be able to share them accurately. But yes, it did have to remain lit all night. That was the idea. And part of the symbolism there is that God is the source of light in our darkness. So,
Okay.
yeah. Okay.
Hmm.
We'll stop the share. Stop the recording here. Okay.